Well, we've seen how to create a basic bot and how to use the Microsoft Bot Framework to allow users to connect to that bot over multiple channels. But the bot we've created isn't all that useful. Really what we need is some sort of AI service behind the bot that's going to provide something of value that users actually want to work with. So we're going to create a very simple example using a cognitive service called the Q&A service. Let's take a look at how we can do that. So here I am in the Q&A Maker website, and this is the portal where I can use my Q&A service to create knowledge bases that I could use in my bot. So I'm going to take a look at creating a new knowledge base, and there's a three-step process for this. And the first step is I need to create an instance of the Q&A service in my Microsoft Azure subscription. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll click Create Q&A Service, and it opens up another tab and logs me into the Azure portal. And then I can go ahead and create a new Q&A Maker service. So we'll give it a unique name. I'm going to call mine Q&A Jokes because it's going to contain a knowledge base with some fairly terrible jokes. I do apologize for that. And I'm going to choose the subscription that I want to create it in and the management pricing tier for hosting that service. And I'm just going to choose the free tier for that, so that's going to allow me to develop it. It'll have some restrictions, but it lets me develop it for free. And we'll create a resource group for that. We'll just call that Q&A Jokes. And we will also have to choose the search pricing tier. We have a separate pricing tier for when the knowledge base is searched. And again, I'll just choose the free tier for that because that'll do it for developing it. We'll store it in the West US data center, and then we need to create a web app for this, an Azure app for our Q&A Jokes, and you can see that name is already taken. There's already a website with that name, so we need to give it a slightly different name. So we'll call it Q&A Jokes 123. We'll just stick an extra bit of number onto that, and then we get a little green tick here that tells us that's okay. That one's not already used, so we can go ahead and use that, and we'll store that website in the West US. And we'll have some app insights so that we can analyze what's going on with this service, and we'll store those in South Central. Might as well just use the default location. So I'll go ahead and click Create, and it'll validate those settings, and then it will go off and provision my Q&A Maker service and the web app to host it. And then when my Q&A service has been deployed, I can go back to my Q&A Maker here, and I'm just going to refresh the page so that we get all the information about the Q&A Maker that we actually have deployed. And it's going to list the Q&A services that I have available to me here. So step 2 is us connecting our knowledge base that we're about to create to the Q&A service we've just deployed. So I'm going to use my Microsoft Azure Directory ID. I'm going to specify the subscription in which I created the service, and then there's my Q&A Jokes Q&A service that I created. So I'm creating a new knowledge base that's going to service that Q&A service. And then I need to give this knowledge base a name. So we just call this Joke Book. And there it is. Now I'm ready to go and populate my knowledge base, and if I had an existing FAQ site on my website, or if I had a file with FAQs, I could go ahead and use those to populate it, or I could go ahead and just create my knowledge base manually myself, which is what I'm going to do. So we'll say create your KB. And we're ready to go and start creating the questions and answers that we want to have in our knowledge base. Now, initially there's nothing in it, so we're going to go and add a Q&A pair. And my question that I'm going to ask is, why did the chicken cross the road? And the answer that goes with that is to get to the other side. So we got our response there. And I can go ahead and add another Q&A pair. So I could have a question like, what's red and invisible? And the answer to that one is no tomatoes. And then finally I'm going to add something here so that when somebody first interacts with the knowledge base, they're going to say hello, and the response to that is going to be hello. So it's not really a question and answer, it's just a way of interacting and getting an appropriate response. So we've got those values added in there. I'll go ahead and save and train that knowledge base. So after it's been trained, I can go ahead and test it, and I can just simply type in a message, hello, and I get back the appropriate response, hello, and why did the chicken cross the road? And I get back the appropriate response to get to the other side. So my knowledge base is working. I'm getting back the appropriate responses. That all seems reasonable. So I'm now ready to go and publish this rather simple knowledge base so that I could use it in a bot or an application. So we'll go ahead and click publish. We'll just hide this test window. And to publish it, it's going to move the Q&As from the test index into production index so that we can actually access it from our bot that we're going to create. So we'll go ahead and publish. And that goes and deploys my knowledge base into my Q&A Maker web service. We can actually see a sample request that we would use to go and connect to that and use it. And it's got various bits of information, various keys in this URL that we're going to need when we try and connect a bot that we're going to build later on to this service. So we'll come back to that in the next demo.